In today's video, we're going to make a mixed media background with some hand-painted flowers. Hi, I'm Stacy. Welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. We're going to jump right in and I'm going to go over the different products I use. Got some Distress Oxide sprays here and a lot of different colors. I'm not sure if I use them all. And then I'll bring in a couple other colors and show you. And I definitely use those too. And then we've got some Distress watercolor paper and also just a spray bottle to mist and get the card wet. And I'm starting, and I'd misted the card with a mist sprayer, and then I'm going in with the sprays and kind of watering those down. I take my heat gun to dry it. You saw me flip the cardstock over and put some water on the back because it helps it like suction to the glass mat and hold it down while I do the spray so it lays flat while I add the different sprays. So I've been absent for a while, and I've had some personal stuff going on. And so I made this card a couple of months ago. So I'm not going to be able to go into great detail everything I did, but hopefully you enjoy seeing what I had made, and it inspires you and maybe gets you crafting, or maybe you're going through some things too and you'll want to watch and just distract your mind. But I left this sitting here like this because when I splattered, I believe that was spun sugar on there, that pink, and I let it set, it was really cool. It almost like speckled and looked raised from the background. And so I kind of left it so you could see what it did. I just thought it was kind of cool. And then when I dried it, it was like, oh yeah, they're oxides and they oxidized. And I thought that was a really neat look too. So I just kept going, and originally I kind of started and had that yellow and did like a sunray looking burst because originally I thought I'm going to do this background and make it look like wildflowers down at the bottom, and maybe do some like, some speckling, like some pouncing with a dry brush and just do some loose looking wildflowers, but it changed direction. Once that pink did what it did, I was like, all right, nope, we're changing it. We're going to do something different. And then I'll bring a stencil in and some Distress inks here in a minute. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. There's a couple of people who've reached out to me, and I have some really great friends I've made on YouTube. And you know who you are. There are a couple of you. And I'm sorry I've been absent, just going through some things. I've shared on my channel before that I, struggle with depression and other things, and some stuff's been going on. And I know my depression's been hitting me pretty hard, but also some other things that has caused some, just some difficulties when you're struggling with other stuff, like your depression or anxiety or whatever it is that you're going through. That shut me down. So my focus has been on trying to pull myself out of I felt like I was in a hole. And also I've been focusing on my health as far as my weight. For anybody who knows me personally or has been following me, that I've lost a lot of weight. I've done I'll share a little bit. Let me go back to the card. So right here, I'm just going through and I'm taking the Distress inks in the colors that were in the sprays. And since Distress ink is translucent, you can see through it because it's a dye ink. I'm choosing that so it has more depth, and I'm just going back over the areas that kind of have those colors. And then I had gotten some in an area where it didn't have that color and I liked it, so I go back in with some the brown and others and layer it up some. And then you'll see me go around the edges with the same colors and just blend them in, and then bring some of that, I think that's walnut stain, I can't see it so tiny, but the brown there, and then I kind of distress the edges and antique them a bit. But yeah, I've done low carb, like keto, and pretty much carnivore, and I'd lost about 140 pounds. I put on just recently because I went off my diet a few times, which one day I put on literally 6 pounds overnight from eating carbs. And what I think happens is the fact that when you're low carb, you don't hold on to excess water. So it's really important to keep your electrolytes up. And I think a lot of that was water weight, but I went in and saw my doctor and I was about in tears and telling him, you know, you're not going to say anything to me that I haven't already beat myself up. And he looked at me and said, do you know how far you've come? Like, it's okay. You keep going. Like, he gave me a pat on the back, and I knew that, but I was just telling him, like, I've already, like, if any of you struggle with weight, whether it's putting weight on, keeping weight off, there's this whole shame when you eat something you know you're not supposed to eat. And sometimes it makes you spiral down the hill. And that's not what I've been struggling with, but that is part of, you know, I just got so burnt out. I was like, I haven't had sugar in 2 years. I haven't had bread in 2 years. And so when I decided to go off my diet and cheat, it was fine. But the first couple of times, which I think I had like a little sliver with no crust, a pumpkin pie around Christmas, didn't put on weight, was okay. You know, and then my daughter made homemade cinnamon rolls. That was my second breaking of eating carbs, and no weight. But then I noticed that it got easier. So then there were like probably 3 or 4 more other times that I broke it. And low carb is you want to be in ketosis. Well, if you go out of ketosis, I'm like, oh, forget it. I'll just eat whatever. I'll eat the potatoes. I'll eat all the things I can. But then it takes a while to get back into ketosis. And that's the key to losing weight and keeping weight off on this diet. And so I've been focusing on that. I've already dropped close to 10 pounds. So I'm almost back at the original that I was. So, like, my current weight loss, and it really just kind of beat me up because I felt a lot of shame and I felt a lot of guilt, and I had to sit back and remind myself that how far I've come. So if you struggle with food, or you struggle with food noise or anything else, no, you're not alone. And now that I've really been journaling and documenting what I'm eating, it allowed me to see, even when I am in ketosis, even doing the keto diet, you can overconsume calories, especially with the high fats, which I typically avoid, but I like pork rinds because it's the only crunchy thing in my diet. And so that I realized was kind of keeping me at a stall. And I literally have about 20 pounds that I want to lose that would get me back to my high school weight, which is probably not going to happen, and that's okay. But I had to, so I've been focusing on that, but that's not why I've been absent. Like, that's only part of me sharing with you, but it's more so other things going on, big stressors that my family and I have been facing, that literally, and my depression and anxiety, and I don't know if I've shared this before, I have PTSD, and there's something that happened that just really knocked me for a loop, and took me to a place where I really didn't want to be, and I'm still kind of there. But I figured, I made this video. I'm going to do the voiceover. I can't remember everything I did. I've been, right around this time I was really enjoying painting again, and I would like to get back into that. But if you struggle with certain things, it's hard to be creative. So, and I've got another partial video made when I was making Christmas in July, guys, that is nearly done. And I'll have to try to put that together and do my voiceover, and maybe next time I won't be so whiny and complainy. But the flowers here, you see me, like that first flower, when you use acrylic paints, you can paint right over it. Paint over it, you make a mistake, just paint over it, because that flower was too small. it needed to be larger, and so that's what I did. And you're going to see me go in with leaves, and they're not going to be perfect, and you're going to see me go back over and paint some of the petals back in. I just think this is a very forgiving medium, and you'll see me cleaning my brush quite a bit, and it's because the colors get muddied when you double load your brush like that, and that's because I'm new. So, you know, I'm telling you, if you can do this too, if you haven't painted before, and get some really pretty results. And I used Donna Dewberry's method, and if I can remember, I'll put the info down below. And then I'm doing the centers. I just got like an old kind of, it's not even a scruffy brush, but it kind of is because it's old. And it's got stiff bristles. They're like synthetic. So I'm just, and it's small because I'm a control freak. So, and I'm just kind of, loading the brush. It's pretty much dry. I'm wiping it off with that paper towel and then pouncing it in. And then if you see me clean it or wipe it off, I'm getting it nearly dry again because the colors will muddy if it's wet, or it'll muddy if even the paint mixing together on the brush. And I kind of wanted some separation, and so it got some detail there. Then I go in and add some highlights with the white and the yellow, and I think I mix up like a darker green to go around the outside edges to make the edges darker so that it looks recessed. So, but yeah, I feel like even though most people, maybe with some of the stuff we've been facing, wouldn't shut down, I did. And it's hard if you have some of the crap that I do, and I don't like getting hung up on it. I keep telling myself I don't really talk about it anymore with family or whatever. Some people don't understand, but yeah. So I just been trucking at getting back on track with my weight loss, and have done that, and I'm super stoked because it's been 2 weeks. Like I said, I've lost nearly 10 pounds. So a lot of that, I think, was water retention from eating carbs. That's the only thing about if you do low carb or keto or carnivore, which I'm nearly carnivore now. If you have a cheat day and you eat carbs, you're screwed for a while. If you do a diet and you can adhere to it and it's low calorie and you have a cheat day, you can make it up. You just keep going. You make sure you monitor those calories. But with keto, because you can eat more calories, you can eat more. It's easy to overeat, especially I try not to add fats. Like I said, pork rinds I thought were disgusting all my life until I started this diet again. And I didn't like them in the beginning, but then I just was like, I need something different. And now I really enjoy them. That is like, do you guys know what a serving of pork rinds is? It's a half an ounce. That's not very many pork rinds. Yes, they're light, but it's not very many. And that's 80 calories. 80 calories. So a bag of pork rinds, depending on what kind you get, and if you get the Big Max bag, like I like, you can eat that whole damn thing in one day, and that's thousands of calories. So I have been weighing my food again, which I stopped doing, and it's really helped. So if you're struggling and you're beating yourself up and you feel that shame that the diet, when you're dieting and losing weight, stop, because it's self-sabotaging and it's hard. And try to have a good support system, because I do have that. So, do you see how I went back over the petals on that smaller flower? And then I'm going back over and trying to add, over those leaves, which I'm not real happy with. Honestly, I would have wished I would have painted a few of those first, or not even put them in, maybe put stems. But I still think it's a pretty card. It's showing me, I'm learning. In freehanding stuff too, you're having to do composition, like, with stamps or certain stamps. Sometimes we have floral stamps, you stamp them out, the artist did all the work for you. So You know, I'm having to think about that. And then I'm going back in with colored pencils because acrylic paint is a form of plastic, and it's rough enough that these pencils, which those are Prismacolor pencils, Prismacolor Premiers, they adhere to it. So I went in and I added some detail with it. Don't be afraid to try it. What's going to happen? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Some of the paint where it was thicker, and probably because it wasn't quite dry enough, did kind of chip up or smear, but it's fine. I just went over it with with a little bit more colored pencil. And then I wanted to add a drop shadow, and I'm taking that, I think a black pencil. I think I bring in like a Derwent like chocolate pencil or sepia pencil too. And that brown pencil there is a colorless blender from Prismacolor. I think it's just a really hard clear plastic, and it just smooths it out. So it burnishes it into the paper, and I noticed that it needed that, which if I'd used a different type of paint, like possibly, this is folk art paint, and they have there's one that's for all surfaces. Literally would have dried, and I could have wiped off. I could have used ink, and then it would adhere to the paper, and then wiped it off the paint. And it may have worked with the acrylic too, as long as what I was using was damp and not wet. Because acrylic paints that don't have that sealer in it, the multi-surface, I think, is from the folk art ones. Those ones you can wipe off of. So here also I brought in some bees because I thought I'm going to fix and cover my error in that flower. And what I should have done is just pulled a couple more petals from the center of that one that was odd and dropped them down, and I didn't. So as I was watching and editing this video, I was like, you dum-dum, Stacy. All you had to do is pull another petal right over that one, and it would have been the side view and fixed it. But new nerves, not knowing, afraid of messing it up more. I just left it. And what I wanted the wings to, they're out of vellum they were heat embossed with white embossing powder. So I wanted them to be translucent, like, you know, like wings are. So I hope you guys have been good. If I haven't been, a lot of times I have your videos playing in the background. I have not been commenting. I haven't really been interacting on social media. I haven't been doing any of that. But I have been watching. I play them in the background. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not always paying attention. But I do try to do that, and I play it on real time so you guys get view hours. For all my crafty friends out there and people I follow, and I throw thumbs ups in there, even when I'm not interacting and you think I'm not interacting, I'm watching for you. And thank you for putting out the content, and thank you for being here and being part of my journey. And you know, for all you crafty friends out there I've made, thank you. I stamped that with some VersaFine ink and heat embossed it with clear embossing powder. And there's the finished card. I think it came out really cute. And it was a lot of fun to do something different. See? The bees covered up my boo-boos. Too bad life wasn't that easy, right? Thanks for spending some time with me. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.